we live in the reality that we want to perceive,
Yep.
always. And it's constantly changing per second moment. Hello. Hi, Kim. Everybody, this is
Hi, how are
Kim.
you?
I wanted to bring
Hello.
her on today, and we're going to talk about some realities and shifting and other formulations that are happening in the universe. So, Kim, what do you do?
Well, it's one of those we do a little bit of everything. So it's hard to put us in a box and call us one specific thing. But, I work with sound. So I'm a sound healer, I don't know, grid worker, just all things. I don't know, I just like dabble into those things. So
You're just
I,
in all the quantum things.
I think so. So
Okay.
for the moment, we'll just call myself a quantum healer. That seems to depict it at the moment. So that's good.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
So, uh, guys, I wanted to get on here with Kim and just be real authentic, and bring in some of these 5D energies and higher than that into places where we can actually kind of understand them and take a look at how our realities are shifting and what that looks like for us and how we can bring that to you in a format that maybe you can move with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a fun week, has it not?
It has certainly been a week. I would say, I mean, from my perspective and how I was viewing it, was that we were in a little bit of a voidy space while a few of the interdimensional Gaias were coming together to fuse into one timeline so that we could
Mm.
have more of that 5D reality coming into our existence and having it really imprinted into our systems. And so the energies were kind of all over the place. I know for me, like I didn't get anything done. I was like, I'm just gonna be flipping through these spaces like this. That's all I'm gonna do this week.
Yeah, it was a little bit like that. The energies were real big after the lunar eclipse.
Right.
And I felt a little tired over the weekend, just, here and there, but nothing too dramatic. Listen, I've had other more dramatic weeks in the sense of my vessel not being happy, So I feel like but it shifted yesterday, so a real release and new energy coming in, real creational energy, which makes me really happy. Yeah,
Yeah, no, yesterday was a really exciting day. I was like, we got it going. It's action time. We can make this
that's
work
right.
for us.
That's right. It's about
So
dang time.
yeah, it's seriously about dang time. It's been a minute. So if we're talking about realities, I'm gonna ask you, what do you feel about realities? How do they interwork with you? What does that look like?
Yeah, so, it's I have to preface all this, dear audience members of the world here, because I want to say that just a few years ago, I had no clue what I was waking up to anything. I mean, I was waking up to some inclinations that my soul wanted to do, which was to travel. I didn't have any understanding of anything. I plugged myself into different courses, different things that really float my boat, right? You know what I mean? And
Sure.
then when I had more awareness of what I was doing, that's what shifted for me. And so that's what's kind of been happening over the last couple of years, real intentional. So it's very hard for me, actually. I mean, we're a lot of us are in the 3D still. We try not to be too much into it, but I have an awareness of it. But I really try to create things that is 5D and above. I like how you said and above, because it's really hard to define these upper ones. But yeah, I got tired of the things that were happening in the 3D, right?
Hmm.
I had more control in the sense of going into my imagination. And I will just say, for the record, I don't see things. I mean, well, I don't like to bring this into my reality, right? That I don't see things, but but I'm just saying that for me, I'm more of I feel things very deeply, and I think a lot of people resonate with that. Um, and so when I would go into my imagination of things, I would try and create things, right, that um, really started to get me excited about things. So initially, it was about grid work. That's where I kind of started 2 years ago. We still do that now, but that's where it kind of started for me. So I just kind of, when I knew that I worked with the grid, and specifically work with light pillars, which really make me happy when I connect the etheric and the earth grid, right? I really had a great love and passion for it. And so that's where it started. So now I feel like I've been in the 5D realm for some time. It's hard for me to go where I'm not at, but I think what's changed over time has been certainly intention and more awareness to it. Yep.
Thank you for expressing that.
Yeah.
What is your kind of definition of the 3D right now? What does that look like for you?
Oh, usually it's other people's stuff. Other people's stuff or something that might come in the mail. Like this past week, I got in the mail an IRS letter with
Oh
a
yeah.
certified letter. So I had to like
Ooh.
sign for it because I'm like, I seriously, I haven't paid taxes for some years. I don't even care. I'm not playing in
Get
that
it.
anymore. Not doing it. So I had to do a little bit of a check-in because that's a total 3D. That's like a weight because
Yep.
that just was like, whoop. But I had to feel into that and just like, nope, I'm not playing in this field anymore, and I'm not even going to open it. So that's the difference because it could have been super easy for me to open it and to
Sure.
maybe get sucked into it. And the head space of, oh no,
Sure.
I thought that was dismantled.
Right.
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 I thought that that didn't exist. And so in my space, yeah, it doesn't exist. No, it doesn't. So it's just going to go away. So I feel like it's just this kind of where these different realities are still interplaying. This is
Mhm.
how we see it sometimes. And
Sure.
now how do you choose to respond to it? That's the trick. And what emotion you're going to have around it.
Right. That's absolutely the trick right there. I super appreciate that. How do we respond to it? How do we interact with it? Because there's still facets of it in our reality. We hit upon it with our family, with our friends,
Yeah.
and at least for me in my realities, like that's not a reality that I have. So it just doesn't exist for me. But I am gonna appreciate them where they're at, you
Yeah.
know, and that's perfectly okay. I would say realities for me. That's a whole playbook book in and of itself because I want to just bring it home for everybody that we live in the reality that we want to perceive
Yep.
always. And it's constantly changing per second moment. Every time we have an eye gaze, a stare, a look, we're changing our timeline, our reality, our parallel, however you guys want to describe it for yourself. And it is like kind of like a deck of cards and they're all shuffling and you get to decide, hey, I'm going to pick the queen right now and I'm going to resonate to that level by just feeling into it, right? Um, for me now it's a great game book. It's a huge game book. I get to flip through all kinds of different realities and have a perfect movie of like, hey, what would my trajectory be if I played out that story? And then it's a whole visceral experience in my body where it's like, nope. Then I just flip that tune really quickly. Don't want to be
Yeah.
there. Taxes, definitely not going to do it. But what I would like is to have a good connection with my family. So how can I do that and stay on my particular resonance? And I think that's a big picture game that we're all playing right now. How do we do that? What tools do you use to work with things like that?
Oh, well, it is that is kind of interesting since at the moment one of my projects right now is that I'm opening a healing center
Yeah.
and I have two partners. And of course, when you're dealing with partners, so there's three of us and
Mhm.
we're all in each other's space, different spaces.
Sure.
I tend to be a lot different in the sense that I'm not pulled into the 3D stuff. I mean when I say 3D, I mean okay, so we have to get quotes, there's paint choices, there's things that you have to do in
Sure.
order to open up a
Sure.
center.
Right.
But I don't tend to worry about, I wonder where the money's going to come from.
Right. Sure.
I mean, I want to be reasonable in the sense that we're not going to do something super crazy at the moment,
Right.
but they have a different perspective. And so I have to kind of honor where they're at in their process, not tune them out,
Right.
give respect to, conversations and their feelings. I think what happens though, it is about vibration,
Yeah.
because I notice that when I'm giving a different perspective, and it tends to not be in the in the lower perspectives,
Sure.
they're like, oh yeah, maybe we should try it this way. So I mean, I feel like, you always want to do better when you can do better, right? You know what I mean? And so I feel like I kind of bring that in a little bit as far as sometimes when that happens. And then we seem to be resonating again. But it just, it's just mutual respect. And so that's where I am with that project. And then you got people, family and friends that have lots of different dramas.
Sure.
I had one today, a big one today. But
Right.
I just kind of have a bit of a observer perspective with it, try to hold the space for them.
Yes.
I'm not going to get sucked into that drama though. That, what I learned? One of the biggest things
But
I learned not too long ago was that, I mean, it's one thing to give advice if it's asked upon, right? But then if you give more than the advice, then now you're entangled with it. And I'm like, no, no,
very
no,
true.
no, no, not going to be entangled. No, no. So we just
Yep.
stop that, right? And then you know, usually that's satisfied. They just need a sounding ear. But I tend
Sure.
not to. I go in there to meet it, but I don't stay in there at all. And then I move out. I will leave the situation. That's the best course.
Time to get out.
Time to
Yeah.
go.
Time to get out. Yeah, I have all these kind of like questions coming in, like, I'm going into the store and it just doesn't feel good. I'm like, well, it's your reality of a store. So maybe make it a fun playground. That's usually what I do when I'm working with frequencies out and about. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm like, that is a thing. That is still a thing that's occurring. And also, it's not in my residence field, but I'm also human and here I am. So, the observational standpoint that you just said, I want to point that out as a little golden nugget there because it's really important right now to be observational in all the perspectives that you're working. And by perspective, everybody, that means how you are perceiving your reality, right? How you're
Yeah.
perceiving reality and how that information is coming into you, your body, your energy, your neural networking system. So, being an observation around your family and coming in at it like that, sometimes it's easy for me to be like, I'm not going to be a connected family part. Sometimes that construct doesn't work. And I'm like, I'm just going to go connect with people that I love. And that shifts the resonance field right there into I'm going to work from my heart instead of like, I'm going into a family dynamic. We're going to have Thanksgiving dinner, which I don't believe in, you know?
Yeah.
like, and I also feel that as humanity is has risen in its frequency and I for myself have not wanted to perceive or get caught up on 3D versus 5D because you could easily be like, oh my gosh, am I in 5D now? What am I resonating in? Like, and that can be definitely overshrouding where you're at in a personal standpoint with your own resonance field. I will say that there is far more frequencies out there than 5D, and we are coming. There's a lot of them coming in. It's not just 5D that we're at. The idea with that in human evolution is that in our physical bodies, as we ascend, all of those frequencies are going to be able to be allowed to enter and be anchored into our system. So we're not going anywhere to be in any reality. That reality is right here. We can pull from any sequencing that we want to be right here, right now, and create from that standpoint. That is what that looks like. And so I always go when people are like, I don't know if I don't know, what are we doing with that? I'm like, don't get caught up in those outside
Yeah.
perspectives of even what you've heard about 3D or 5D, right? Because that can get
Yeah.
things trapped up. How is your resonance feeling in your body? Are you able to be enjoy? Can you create? Right. And to pull apart creation, because I have so many constructs that come up with creation with humanity, a lot of times that has to do with like I need to paint or I need to go get creative or sometimes the constructs of like sexuality come up and that can be a big block there. But everything is creation. Everything that we're doing, everything that we are, even if we're taking a still moment in breath, we're massively creating. So I always bring that forward of like, what is your creationary motion? How does that work for you? What does creation look like to you? And what does that like to you? How do you work with creation in your existence?
Well, yeah. So I was just, hold on, before I answer that question, I was just thinking about creational energy. I mean, in the sense that, you know, we're coming into some spaces now with humanity that it's going to be very easy to be getting into 3D because it's going to be showing us things. There's going to be
Right.
things upon the news some of it I feel my personal perspective and what my plan is for myself, because I have a little bit of a plan that I'm going to witness some of it because I'll have satisfaction in witnessing some of it,
Sure.
but I'm not staying in it because we already did that several years ago when we went down rabbit holes, right? So I
Right.
feel like I need to see where I need to see it and then just be done with it. Kind of get like the news highlights when I'm
Right.
prompted to
Right.
it.
Right. Right.
But I feel like what happens now when these concerts are going to be starting to dismantle, it's going to leave a lot of things to be rebuilt with, right? Which is
Sure.
what creation is.
Exactly.
So knowing that we are in a space and time that creation can't be more at its highest point, in my opinion, we're coming
Right.
into this now.
Sure.
So my plan then is to how then do I create? Well, so at the moment I'm creating the healing center, so that's super fun because
Right.
that's joy. And we know we can create from high vibrational place. So if
Yeah.
you're not in a high vibrational place, then I would say get there. Get there. Get there at whatever it takes to do that, right? And so what are your tools to get yourself into a state of excitement? So for me, it's about
Right.
that at the moment, but I have longer term humanitarian
Sure.
projects, right? Bigger
Sure.
projects.
Hmm.
So I tend to go into those now bigger spaces. I know that this healing center that's going to be opening up in the next like month and a half. It's a stepping stone, it's not
Right.
the end of it. So I have
Sure.
bigger things, bigger people to create, people to create with. So I start to imagine and bring that in of what that
Right.
looks like.
Right.
So I feel like what would be good to talk about is how do you create your reality?
How do you create it? How do you bring in those frequencies and vibrations so they come into manifestation? I think that's the biggest piece of what we're looking at right here. And um, so those higher vibrational aspects are coming in, and you're talking about, get yourself to a higher vibration. And for everybody, I just kind of want to break down vibration and what that is. I know that you guys have heard a lot of things about vibration. From my perspective, and it is a perspective, we're all completely made out of small particles, right? That's the quantum aspect. Okay, these particles come together and they start to vibrate, and the more that they vibrate, the faster at the rate that they vibrate, the higher the vibration is. And the faster they vibrate, they make waves, and the waves are frequency. Okay, so the frequency is a level. You can call them lessons. You can call them. Usually, I call them lessons. Like, I'm going to stay at this particular vibration for a period of time until I've figured out at that particular resonance what I want to learn from that, and then I'm going to shift into a higher frequency.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So
Yeah.
it's coming into a place of I'm not here with hierarchy or any of those things, because it can into those spaces where we're like, you got to get into that higher vibration, but if you don't understand what vibration is, that can be a harder thing to work with. So from a very basic level, feeling in your body what excitement is, what joy is, okay, what gets you super super excited, whether that's like me seriously going out to do a funny poem somewhere, because that creationary story is going to lead to pathways that are going to make me feel more excited about other pathways,
Yeah.
whether that's getting my hands in the dirt, or taking one action step. Those are really good processes to keep your vibration at a high place, however you want to do that for yourself. And then bringing your vision into reality. So we all know at this point we're multiple perspective, right? We're multiple
Yeah.
dimensional. So we have many different facets of us. We call them fractals. That's usually what they're called. Fractals of ourselves that are everywhere in the universe. Okay, and essentially we're the only one in the universe as well, because we're all one. So if we're looking at it that way, we're our own creators in our own reality. We're the only one who's creating our reality. And you, my friend, you're a beautiful aspect of reality that I wanted to co-create with. So your vibration is matching my vibration, and we're having a really fun time creating.
Yeah.
Okay? To bring that into reality, it's, what vision do I want? And it changes per day too. Sometimes, we have our
Yeah.
long-term ones, and those tend to shift a little bit. And then it's like, hey, what do I want to create in my reality right in this moment? Because everything is happening in this moment, right? So if I'm looking long term and I want to be doing projects and I have those projects set up for myself, kind of ready to go, but they're obviously not right there yet. What are the tiny little pieces that I can pull in? Is it a phone call to somebody that I feel like is doing a project that I want to be involved with? That's going to bring the whole slew of that line into my reality where I can then open up the door for that next tiny step. I'm going to interview this person. Okay. And it doesn't even matter what it looks like, where it reaches. It's just me and my creation story. I'm going to do that because it's going to lead open to probably an infinite amount of more pages that I can work with to bring that into my reality. So,
Yeah.
action in our physical bodies is how we do bring it into reality. That does not mean you have to work to do it, guys, though. That's where I want to get with that. Like, you don't have to work hard
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because the universe responds to action,
Yep.
whatever action that is.
Yep.
So it's one thing to be thinking about it, which, there's a point in time for that, to create appear. But at a certain point, I remember there was a time when we were creating a space because there was a beautiful building that we really wanted to go into. It was really big. It was like 8,000 square feet.
Okay.
But
Mhm.
it was being used. It was in the process of being built. But it was being built as a dispensary.
Oh,
So
okay.
we were
Okay.
like, we were like, but we really like that building. And I
Yeah.
connected with this building. I don't know. So I have one of my partners is she's a psychic and medium. And one time she was telling me, she's like, the building, which I called her Beauty. I had to name her. So her name is Beauty. And she's like, Beauty gets really upset when you don't wave to her or acknowledge her when you pass her down the street. I'm like, what? Like, I didn't even
Oh,
have the understand. I mean, I knew that all things have consciousness, but this
sure.
was the first time that there was an interaction of something that I was doing, which was passing her by the street without waving or acknowledging her. And she wanted me to know that she was aware of me not doing that. So that completely shifted for me. And I
Sure.
used to, while it was being built, I used to go in there with my singing bowls, right? And I would literally play the frequencies. She wanted to be in a space with women of beauty because she used to not be in a space. It was like a
Right.
man space that was like, I think it was like an auto parts store or something, like it was like not fun for
That's
her. So, but for
cool.
the longest time, we had to wait till this building kind of created, like it was being built, and
Sure.
we weren't sure. I mean, because there's still free will on that owner. What does that look like? That owner
Right.
still has free will. So we can't influence it, but we can ask questions. We can try and create from our reality. Like what is it that how do we envision it? At the end of the day, many months later, it took much longer than what we wanted. And we wanted to go with something smaller so that it would come into manifestation faster. But we had to
Right.
take different action steps. And we found that any little thing that we did, the universe responded to it. But you have to be aware of how is the universe talking to you, which might be a good topic because for me, I mean, well, for most people, it's synchronicities. You see the patterns.
Sure.
So I call those patterns in. So I'm like, I
Get it.
really need to see this sign and I will name the sign. I'll actually give the units a few choices. So it can show me, right? It can show
Right.
me the different ways. And so whether that's number or a picture or a concept, something, um, and it validates thing for my physical world, right? And then that's how I have worked with that. But it has been a process, and so now it's what I find now, it's like what are the things that really light me up? What lights me up? And what lights me up right now are connections because I've been
Yeah.
going for like 3 or 4 years, right? When most of us have been 3 or 4 years of really deep our own inner work.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yep.
how about the world?
Yep.
you know, going through all of that. So now it's about connection with people. So that's what lights me up. So now I tend to do anything that I can because that's what I want in my reality.
Right.
First of all, I've stated it. I have an intention that I
Mm.
want to have more physical, not just in the ether, because I don't remember what's in the ether, as you know. I'm like, Z, what did we do last night?
You know that.
Sometimes I have to like text her and go, "What happened?" She'll fill me in a little bit. But for the most part, I send the intention of what it is that I want, and then I wait for the universe to bring it to me. So back in the day when you guys were doing classes, right? Anytime you had a
Yep.
class, I was like, I'm joining the class because you don't know what's going to happen
Yep.
in the class.
Exactly.
Don't know. So you just better make yourself present. So
Yep.
I
Yep.
just
Yep.
anything that came, I did. And anything that really resonated with me, right? I just participated in, and then it has unfolded. So I would say
Right.
that's how I've been creating as of late. And I think my higher self is like, and you have to do a little more joy. Like if I was by a beach right now, that would be ideal because I'm in Michigan and Michigan's super cold right now.
Right.
Well,
Right.
actually, Michigan doesn't know because sometimes it's like 60 degrees, and the other day it was 27. So
Oof.
I just want to be on a beach where it's consistently warm and I can be in the water. That would be really ideal. So, but because
That,
I want that, right? I'm going to have to start manifesting this. I start thinking about this and start feeling it,
right.
creating this into my reality. So that's what I'm currently working on.
Oh, I super appreciate that. That's awesome. I like
Yeah.
how you do that. I I want to be just bring this into presence too is that as we're co-creating, each one of us has such a beautiful different perspective on how we work, and it's really important for us to perceive how we're doing how other people are doing it and see how we'd like to do it and further expand our senses. And that's what I feel like connection is about right now. Connection is really important to me. It's one of my most absolute favorite things. I love connecting with others. I love connecting with big creators, and the connection point is so exciting to me that I almost just blow out of my skin. There's been plenty of times where I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to meet all these people." And I'm so excited about it because we're going to start creating in so many ways that we haven't here on earth before, right?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
excitement for me, what I do, and obviously, like for me, I do see things. I have that just I'm constantly seeing the parallels, and I'm constantly seeing all shifts that I'm doing because it's only about me and my own reality and how I want to work in that space and how I want to work in space with other perspectives so that I can grow and everybody else can grow. Um, if I'm wanting to sit per se, like go to the beach, which sounds lovely, by the way, I've already put that in my perspective for this
Excellent.
year. So I know it's going to
Excellent.
happen, right? I pull from my favorite beach that I want to go to, right? I pull from a body of water that I've talked to before, that I've had a
Mhm.
resonance with, and I bring that into my current line, and I line myself up so that is my highest vibrational sequencing. For me, it is very visceral that way, and I read fractals and numbers in that way too, and that's easy for me. But if I'm pulling that into my trajectory, then I just go, okay, that's cool. So that's going to happen this year. I don't have to worry about anything else, right? It's already in alignment with myself, and then I get to start looking, talking to the universe. Now, this is a great conversation too. Is how does everybody talk to the universe? How does that work with you? Is it very internal? Is it you're looking for synchronicities? Are you working with music? Mine is in every single facet that I'm looking at. This little plant that I have here is giving me information. I work with music a lot to shift frequency, and now that's just running naturally in my body. I don't have to actually listen to something. I just want to tune to a particular frequency, and I go to that. But bringing that aspect of things into reality now is getting faster and easier than ever by just letting go. I feel like I'm going to circle this a billion times. The easier you can let go of whatever it is that you're
Yeah.
wanting, the faster it's going to come to you. If you can do that, whether it's a construct, because everything is made out of construct thought forms, okay? The faster that you can pick up on a thought form, whether it's coming in from like a family member, and you can perceive it as like, oh, that doesn't feel that great. And you just replace that really quickly into something that is maybe a unique story, or like you said, your imagination to come into play with that. Like, who is this character in my story? My mother today, right? And you can put that into a vibration where it's like, oh, you know what, instead of perceiving her as having a hard time, I'm going to perceive her as being one of my friends in my storyline for today. Okay. And it's
Yeah.
going to start to resonate something different and different for her too, because I shifted my own reality with that, right? um
Yeah.
so it's baselining everything that I'm seeing and perceiving watching my thoughts and how they're culminating through, feeling my body and how it's wanting to perceive, because our vessels here are so important, right? How they're perceiving the energy coming through is very important. So communication with the body, how you feeling about that? And then asking the body, how do you want to express this, create with it, and raise your own vibration, right?
Yeah.
And usually it's a play story, and it's like, well, of course, I just want to go on the radio and sing right now, or I want to go outside, or look, I have a book that I'm excited to write with that. If you're following your highest excitement and you're just ready to let go of anything that's in the way of that highest excitement, it's gonna come in lickety split. It's be real fast.
Yeah, you know, I had just recently, I don't know, I mean, I think I knew about the idea about this, but I didn't really, it's the idea with when you're creating a reality, right? That the universe looks at this as a blank page. And I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, well, what does that mean? What does this really mean? Well, because it's waiting your instruction. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And then a thought came to me. It's like when you take when it's like when you're going somewhere and you're called yourself an Uber and you're in that back seat of the Uber and you say nothing to the Uber driver. He's like, where do you want to go? I'm like,
Oh,
oh yeah, I have to tell you where I need to go. Okay. So it's kind of like the same thing. Like you have to tell, you have to create the story of what it is that you want. And it's kind of like coding your reality. So for those of you who are computer people, so it's like you got to
yes.
insert the things and create the storyline. And I personally do it out loud because it feels like it grounds it more when I'm doing it out loud. Well, first of all, I
Mhm.
learned about grounding myself. Listen, I didn't used to ground myself when I did this. Oh, and it didn't really feel real. I mean, it did, but I didn't feel the emotion or the feelings of it as
Sure.
well. And I started to really ground myself, and that shifted all of that, right? So
Right.
anyway, when I figured that I'm okay, if I verbalize it, like, okay, it's like I'm narrating. I'm like, okay, got a property. It's awesome and it's on a cliff. And I'm describing, it's like pine trees. They're the most beautiful like pine trees and I'm overlooking the ocean and I can now smell the ocean and I can almost feel the ions, and so I really go into the very descriptiveness of what that is, but I'm narrating it as it's already there and already happened, right?
Right.
So when I'm done though, and with this little exercise and fun thing, you come back to this, right? And you can continue on your storyline, right? Or make up a different one. But
Right.
I'm always
Right.
given the intention of what I'm doing, and that has really helped a lot. Maybe that might help someone. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a great way to do it. Yeah, speaking it out loud. Writing used to be one that I used to do. I don't do that anymore. It's more of like I hear it and I do it. Uh, and a lot of times too, for me, I'm creating in facets of, again, music or dance, where I'm hearing it as a play story in my mind, and I'm like, okay, which frequencies now do I want to bring into my story for? And I just do it per moment second. Literally, I don't go any further than where we're at right now, even though I can see trajectories of what certain thought forms or frequencies are doing. So I do it's like a story rewrite every single day, right? Because it is
Yeah.
a complete blank slate. Like the universe is literally like, you can have anything that you want. You can contract to do anything that you want. You can break that to do anything that you want. Okay. So, what is the story in the molding pot that you want to work with today? And if there is anything that's resonating in there that doesn't fit you, uh, for me at least, it's like, oh, yeah, that's certainly not going to work. I'm going to just tell the universe that that's a no. Okay. So like if I don't want
Yeah.
taxes, like that's just going to be in that no, I don't want any more of that in my existence. And that's by continuing to tell it what you do want. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Because you got to
whether that's speaking it
got to
out
keep
loud.
that
Yep.
vibration, that resonance of no. And your
Yep.
subconscious will
Yep.
test you on that. It's going to keep presenting
Oh,
it
for
to
real.
you until you for sure are like, no, 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 right?
Yep.
Because it's got,
Yep.
it's almost like it's got a cement in there, right? I'll never forget the one time we were
It is.
working together. So we have a little story here, story time. Z and I were working on a little project, and I was building pillars, and she's like, and now, mind you, when I'm on the land, or well, before it was on the land, and I would be in a physical place and I would build these light pillars and I would connect it, and I'd go through this whole big process and feeling it. And I'm programming the pillar and I'm doing all of the things to the pillar, right? It was like this big, joyful thing. And it still is. But we had a session one time where I was trying to find places on the world where I wanted to place these particular pillars. So I started to write it down on
Uh-huh.
a piece of paper, right? So I could keep in track on it, right? So when we got together, she's like, "Oh yeah, no, it's already created." And I was like, "What? I haven't even built them yet," right? Because I'm thinking I'm physically what I had been doing, but because I had written it down on a piece of paper, that was my creation. It
Yep.
taught me tons in that
Yep.
moment. This is why I love creating with people, is because first of all, everybody, you can never do it wrong. Don't ever let your creation stop you because you think that you don't know how to do something, because that's your left brain
Yep.
talking, and that you're going to do it wrong, because everybody's got a different way of doing something. So you just gather
Yep.
ideas of what really resonates with you. I might want to try it this way, and you try it. We are so important. You spoke about our vessels being so important. I had an idea. I'm like, right now, I might be more important than kind of like Archangel Michael. And I was like,
That's right.
what?
That's
But
right.
in a different way. But it's only because I'm in physical form.
You're in body.
I'm in
That's true.
body.
Yep.
And you need the body to be able to do the things, which
Yes.
makes you have a whole different appreciation level about your vessel. Listen, there are things with my
Absolutely.
vessel that we've got to work on, and we're working through it. But I
Yep.
love my body now, and I love my vessel because I'm able to create with it in this
Yes.
way. And this is
Yes.
why we're here.
Yep.
So anyway, I just, I don't know why that came out, but that did. But I'm just saying, this
Because it's
creational
important.
thing, just different things about how we create. Sometimes it's in the imagination, but sometimes it's about writing it. I'm not, if before I could never, I don't see pictures in my mind. Sometimes I see colors, which I get really excited for when I see colors, and that's like changing colors, and I get really
Yeah.
jazzed.
Yep.
But for the most part, sometimes I'm just like creating, like in a story, automatic writing and things like that. And I know
Yep.
that I'm creating. And it's really
Yep.
wonderful, again, when you're working with people, because the people like you who see things, you're like, "Oh, no, 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 I already saw that. Yeah, you already did that." I was like, "What?" So there we are. And then it becomes a confirmation for you, right? And then it
Yeah.
becomes more real. You're like, "Oh, okay." Because you're used to just working, I think I know, right? But it's my world, it's my
Sure.
reality. Is it really happening?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yep. That's
so
why it's
love and
so
appreciate you for always giving me the feedback of the things, right?
you're always like, what were we doing at this exact point? And I'm like, exactly this at this exact point.
No, half the time I feel like I got a big blindfold on. I feel like now I embrace my ninja, like with the blindfold, because that's how I feel. I have to like feel like I'm in the dark and I'm feeling through things and I'm not seeing it in that way. But it's really helping me to hone in on my other
What you do.
senses.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
used
Yep.
to get really kind of annoyed, and I wouldn't say I had a lot of resistance to it, because I've learned about this idea of resistance and how that's a big no-no. So I used to
Sure.
like just let this go, send out my request to the universe, and this is what I prefer, please. Please bring
Yep.
that in. But once I've
Yep.
sent it out, like, right, like a letter, you just send it out to the universe and it's going to happen in the divine timing. But meanwhile, I have to pretend I'm the superhero that has the blindfold over her eyes while she does all the ninja moves. That's how I have to do it now to make it fun. That's what we do.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. We all have different gifts here that we have and gifts that we've brought in for from lifetimes parallels of places that we've studied, we've worked. And it's really important because how important you are to my functionality as a whole because you perceive and do things very differently from me and you're a part of the puzzle. So for me,
Yeah.
like I'm holding the perspective and I'm watching and I'm guiding and what you create is super necessary to how I function and how I work in the universe. So that's what we all have as different jobs and perspectives. And it
Yeah.
cracks me up because the blindfold thing, I've seen you run around like that too.
See, you guys all are experiencing the live version of what I'm talking about, because I don't remember that, but she does. And she brings it into the reality of like, yeah, I've seen that, what that looks like. And I'm like, yeah, true that. That's what's happening.
it is, and it's funny because I get that resentment part. There's been a lot of I've had that towards, and I've had to really just like also more over the many years embrace what I have and hold that steady because my part of the resentment is like, wouldn't that be freaking nice to not see anything for once? You know what I'm saying?
I do. I actually thought about that recently because here's what I thought. Kim, if you saw things, then you might be like, "Oh no, I'm not going anywhere near that. I'm checking out." No, no. Right? See, I'm pretty bold right now because I don't see. So I'll just be like, "You want me to go into the dark, scary spaces? Okay, let's go." Like I don't really have any
There you
fear
go.
around that too much, right? Because I don't because I don't see yet.
You don't.
So it's like bringing the toddler, right? Who has no clue. And you're just like, "Let's go." Yeah,
Yeah, I
all
see you
good.
like bulldozing in, and I'm like, that's funny.
You'd
Yeah,
be like,
no. I
you're
would
like,
have to
"Come back
say
here."
exactly. It's a lot of skill and practice to be able to hold that in my body and perceive how I perceive because it's very you know I'm witnessing, I'm perceiving, and yet I'm not staying attached to it, especially when I'm around people and I can see the timelines and things like that. It's very much so directed in my own pathway and how I want to work my own reality and how I'd love to help support reality of humanity in the best way possible. And now
Yeah.
we're all going to be doing all kinds of cool, crazy things. And I'm honestly just here for the fun. So, I mean, that's starting now. That's starting right now. We're going to do that right now. Because prior to that, I was like, I think, I'm not exactly sure how long I want to be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Freaking Michael has it real good right now.
Yeah. 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 That speaks to the shift, right? And we kind of go in and out of those spaces. But yeah, I can hardly wait. I know I missed the big reunion, right? Of people like that. You guys were all in Ireland and well, no, you guys were in England. Well, you went everywhere.
England, England,
You guys
Scotland.
went a bunch of different places. I was just there
Yeah.
2 years earlier. You
Oh,
know,
that's
but
yeah.
it'll be good. It'll be good to be getting together like in the physical and we'll have more opportunity for those people like who I can hardly wait. Mia and like the places that we haven't I know who I know, but I haven't met them in the physical, so I'm excited.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be great, and I'm excited to see you this year because it's
Yeah,
already in swing. So
already
we're all gonna
swing.
be meeting each other, and it's gonna be really fun. And I'm excited for what we get to create now and where we're at. So kind of just bring it back for everybody. We talked a little about perspective, bringing your reality into your actionable steps so that you can bring those higher frequencies in. Watching where you feel like the 5D and the 3D is at, and your own personal intuitive work and how your vibration is working, being able to talk to the universe. That's a big one. Uh,
Yep.
at your nose is one sentence, and the universe definitely responds to that. And being able to let go of things and embracing your own personal gifts and continuing on those, and knowing that
Yeah.
you're all a very important puzzle piece here, and we all love you very.
I'm so appreciative really of where I think honoring where our journey has led us thus far, really respecting ourselves and what the work and the joy we've been involved in, really, and that great things are
Yep,
just, I feel like it's just starting. It really is. I'm so happy.
yep, yep. Very abundant. And I'll have Kim's information down below if you guys want to check on that link, on all the links and everything that you are, quantum healer.
All the things.
All the
Yeah.
things. And then we're gonna keep up with this, guys. So we're gonna do more of these for sure. Yay! I'm
Awesome.
excited for
Love
it.
you guys.
Love you so much. Bye.